Mother's Day is drawing near, and culturally we tend to think of Mother's Day as a day of breakfast in bed, as a day when we see children darting around in their Sunday best. And in today's society, we know that there's going to be social media post after post after post of women sharing photos of their families and heralding that it's the best gift ever to be a mother. But I know personally, and I know from working with women in the pregnancy loss community and while writing my book, Love Baby, that Mother's Day can actually be one of the most dreaded days of the year. Today I'm going to share with you a few tips on how to get through Mother's Day. And these are things that I've learned through my research into grief, from talking to other women, and from just personal experience. So tip number one that I'm going to offer is I want you to really think about this one. I want you to decide if social media is a trigger, and you know what I'm talking about. If when you are on social media and you see a picture of a woman announcing a pregnancy, or a woman who's holding a newborn, or several children, and you have this intense feeling of jealousy or anger. Number one, I don't want you to feel bad for it, because it's a common emotion among us. So please, please don't feel bad for that emotion. But if you do feel that, I think I would love for you to consider taking a social media fast for the next couple of days, maybe Saturday, Sunday, even Monday, and really concentrate on the real life you have around you. Really focus on the blessings that are in your real life, where you're not focusing on what you don't have. Go ahead and delete the app from your phone. Log out of it. I promise it will be there waiting for you when you come back to it. And I think you'll find that your mind can be stilled a bit, and you're not going to have to endure all these feelings of jealousy that come about because of social media. So tip number one is to consider if social media is a trigger, and if it is, go ahead and take a social media fast. Day one's really hard because you just want to keep checking it, but I promise by day 2 and day 3, you'll be very thankful that you've done that. Okay, tip number 2 is I want you to go ahead and admit that Mother's Day can be hard. Go ahead and tell yourself that you know that the day of Mother's Day, the days leading up to it, might be a bit of a challenge emotionally. So what I'd love for you to be able to do is, there is so much healing that can come through writing. So I want you to journal about your feelings. If you are more of a talker, I want you to talk to a trusted friend or your spouse. If you don't have a person in your life, within your household, you can really kind of vent to, then join our Loved Baby support group, our Love Baby tribe, and you can talk about these emotions. You can also, of course, absolutely talk to God, and remember that when we've talked about it in our Loved Baby devotional book, talking with God always doesn't have to be this beautiful conversation. Sometimes you're going to be crying. You're going to be crying through your anger and your frustration, and that is okay. That's okay. It's okay for a Christian to go through these things. But if you journal, if you talk, maybe you're a very creative person and you just need to create something, this can help release some of these negative emotions from your soul out into the world. I just want you to think of this analogy. If you have a closed pot boiling on your stove, what happens when it boils for too long? It's going to simmer over and over and over. So what you need to do is you need to be able to, take the lid off that pot and release some of this energy. So write, create, talk, go through those emotions. Go ahead and admit that it's hard, and then write it out, talk it out. So release some of that energy, and it might mean you might even have to settle in for a good cry, and that's okay if you have to do that. Okay, my third tip is, and I think this is a really important one, I think I learned it on Oprah actually, but don't expect people to be mind readers. This especially is in the case of our spouses, of our husbands. In a perfect world, our husband would know our every need. He would know that even though you're a bereaved mother, that your child passed on to heaven perhaps a couple of months ago, that you're really hoping to get roses or to be recognized with a card or something special. He may not know that, and a lot of times men don't think of those things, or if they do, they're hesitant to do it because they're not quite sure how you're going to react. So don't expect your husband, your own mother, your friends to be mind readers. If you really need extra love on that day, go ahead and mention it to someone. It's okay to say, hey, I know that Mother's Day is going to be hard. Maybe we could do something together. Maybe we could go purchase some plants to plant. Maybe we could go out to dinner together, or maybe we could go pick out a piece of jewelry or something to help us remember our child on this Mother's Day. So go ahead and realize that don't expect people to be mind readers. You're going to have to speak your truth. And realize that if people fail to mention your child in heaven to you, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means that as a culture, we don't have a great ritual of how to recognize bereaved mothers on this day, or on any day for that fact. As a society, we don't handle grief well. So please know that it doesn't mean you're not loved. It just means that the other person on the other end of it probably doesn't know exactly what to do. Okay, now fourth tip is to have a plan. And I hear this a lot from really resilient women who have faced stillbirth and miscarriage and other forms of pregnancy loss, that on their due date, they go ahead and make a plan. And I think this is applicable for Mother's Day as well. Are you going to go to church? Are you going to go to the family cookout? What are you going to do that day? Remember, the church is not just for the strong. It's not just for the people with smiling faces, but the church is for the vulnerable, those that are sad. This is where we meet Jesus. So please, if you need to take a break from church from that day, I think we all understand, but know that the church is where you can go to meet Jesus, and it's okay to go and be vulnerable and cry and pray and not feel complete happiness on that day. Our joy is found in the Lord, and that's where we need to try to focus our joy. So as we're discussing plans, perhaps you'll plant a tree, perhaps you'll treat yourself to lunch. Maybe on Thursday before Mother's Day, you'll go and buy yourself a present. Just go ahead and plan a course of action of what you might do, but be gentle on yourself. Be gentle on yourself. My fifth tip is to realize that anger, jealousy, and sadness are all common grief reactions that occur after pregnancy loss. This is very well documented in research. You're not going crazy. You're not a bad person for feeling these things. In fact, if you feel anger at God, you're not a bad Christian. It just means that you're sorting through some really grief-stricken emotions. We go into them in great detail in my book, Loved Baby. If you're having difficulty sorting through jealousy or anger, or you just need some extra love as you're going through depression and anxiety, then this really is the book for you. But so go ahead and realize that these emotions you're feeling are not just you, that you're the only one who's ever felt them. I promise you, most every other woman who has experienced pregnancy loss has felt those exact same things. So my fifth tip, and I've lost the page in the book, is actually a Bible verse that I want you to meditate on. So the Bible verse is Philippians 4:8, and it says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So when you have these intense emotions, I really want you to focus, and I want you to look around, and I want you to find something that's true. Find something that's noble. Find whatever is right, pure, lovely, admirable, anything that is praiseworthy. Go ahead and think about such things and find a way to praise God, because that's one way that we can battle our grief and we can get to the peace that passes all understanding, is to draw near to Jesus this Mother's Day season. But I want you to know you're loved. I want you to know that we see you, that we adore you, and that we celebrate the fact that we all have children blooming in heaven, and we all have the opportunity to meet these children one day in heaven. And that I pray that you can all mourn in hope on this Mother's Day season. So please accept my deepest love to you. Sweet Mama, accept my absolute deepest love to you. And as we end, I want you to, the prayer that I would love for you to pray is that, Lord, I pray that during times of sadness, I will seek out and focus on what is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, excellent, and praiseworthy. So as you go throughout this Mother's Day, I want you to know that you're loved, and I want you to know that you are seen, and I also want you to know that there are many women out there that feel the exact same way you do, and there is solidarity, there is community, and you can look to some of these other women as a way to know that you might not ever get over your pain, but you can get through it with the help of Jesus. And for you, I say Happy Mother's Day for our field of roses that are blooming in heaven.